Hi friends, with Season 3 Reloaded coming soon for Modern Warfare Zombies, I thought it would be good to show you how you can get every wonder weapon schematic in Modern Warfare Zombies. There are 4 wonder weapons in the game: the ray gun, the Wunderwaffe, the Scorcher and the VR11. Just to cover the basics, for all of these you kind of need a level 3 Pack-a-Punch weapon and preferably a legendary rarity with a Deadshot Daiquiri perk. Also, you'll need to of course successfully exfil with the schematic in order to permanently unlock it for crafting. So let's get started with the ray gun schematic. This one's fairly simple. You can only find the ray gun schematic in the red tier 3 zone on the normal map, and you simply just need to do those tier 3 red zone contracts. Unfortunately, there isn't a specific contract that always gives you this. You simply need to grind those tier 3 contracts as much as you can, and eventually you'll get that ray gun schematic. Some people seem to think the escorts contract gives you better odds of getting the ray gun schematic, but actually the odds are the same across all contracts, so I really recommend just trying to focus on those faster and easier contracts like those cargo contracts and the outlast contracts. It might take a few games, but keep grinding those contracts and that will eventually get you the ray gun schematic. There are no other ways to get it, so you just got to keep grinding. Next, let's move on to the Wunderwaffe wonder weapon. You can get this by simply completing the Act 3 Outlast mission. This will require you to do all Act 1 and Act 2 missions, but once you've unlocked Act 3 as a whole, you can then jump straight to the Wunderwaffe schematic mission. It's an Outlast mission, make sure you select it before you jump into the game. However, once you're in that game, it's going to be a pretty easy Outlast mission. Make sure you've got that strong gun, and once you've completed the Outlast contract, a rift will spawn and it should give you the Wunderwaffe schematic. This actually guarantees you the wonder weapon every time, as long as you complete that Outlast contract and have that mission selected before you load into the game, meaning this is probably the easiest wonder weapon to get, as long as you've done the Act 1 and Act 2 missions. Moving on, we've got the Scorcher wonder weapon. This one's actually my favourite wonder weapon. Yes, it's powerful against zombies, but actually it's my favourite because it's the most useful movement tool in Modern Warfare Zombies as a whole. Now this method gives you a 1 in 3 chance to get the Scorcher, but unfortunately that's the only way to get it. The other good news though is that this method does guarantee you a schematic at the very least. It's just that you could end up with the legendary ether tool or the level 3 Pack-a-Punch crystal schematic instead of the Scorcher. But either way, you can do this multiple times in different games, so all you've got to do is just jump into different games, keep doing this Easter egg, and eventually you will get all of these 3 schematics, including that Scorcher schematic. Now these all relate to the red worm Easter egg. There are a few steps you got to take, so here they are. Head to the top left or the top right of the map, that's C1 or H2. Both of these locations will be on the 2nd floor of these specific buildings. Either of these rooms will have 4 small pictures which you should be able to see, and those 4 pictures signify the location of USB devices. There'll be 4 to collect in total, hence the 4 small pictures. By the way, you don't need to go to both of these locations, either C1 or H1, but not both. Now you need to travel to each of the 4 locations you can see in the picture to obtain that USB drive I mentioned. You do this by interacting with this machine you can see right here in each of those 4 locations. It will take a moment for you, you'll do some typing, and then eventually it will spit out a USB stick on the floor, which you'll need to pick up. One thing to note is that these machines do need line of sight to the open sky, so that means they should be quite easy for you to find. They'll either be outside of the building, or they'll be something like on a roof, or some open space with a clear line of sight to the sky. Now instead of you having to work out where each of the map pictures are, I'm actually just going to put a link in the description for you with a link to gamewith.net, because they found all 12 locations and they show you quite specifically where to find each of them. One other thing that might be useful for you to know is that one of the USBs typically always seems to spawn in the red zone, so I tend to leave that one till last, so I recommend you do the same. Now once you've got the 4 USBs, you need to take them to find the reactors, which you'll then have to put those USBs into. Again, thanks to gameswith.net, I can show you this map right here, and this shows you the 4 locations of the reactors. Now how do you know which one to pick? Well, it's actually quite simple. Find where that purple zone is. Once you see that purple zone, now typically whichever one of these 4 is closest to where that purple zone is, those are the reactors you'll need to use. But to just be doubly sure, if you zoom in close, you should see 2 ammo crates where you can restock your ammo very close together, way closer than they normally are. And that's the exact indicator of where you need to be, because when you get there you should see those reactors that you'll need to use. Now you won't be able to use them straight away if the zone hasn't engulfed them. you're going to have to wait for that purple zone to expand. Once it covers all 4 reactors, that's when you can put your USB drive in. As soon as you've done that, you'll have to wait a few moments, and it won't be instant, but the red worm will appear. Do make sure you're prepared though. Everyone's saying this is one of the hardest bosses we've had in zombies, and to be honest, from my experience having done it 3 or 4 times now, I'd have to agree. So the trick is just deal as much damage as you can by focusing on the crystals on its neck, as you would do with these normal worm bosses. And when he releases the purple wisps, just make sure you focus on killing them first. It's okay to stop shooting the worm just for a moment if you're focusing on those purple wisps. It's really worth it, because otherwise you will go down to them. And apart from that, it's really just about team shooting the worm as much as you can. Also, keep an eye on the time. Remember, you've got 15 minutes before the game ends, and because you're in the zone, your gas masks will start to take damage, and when it gets to about 2 bars, run up to the ammo resupply and just resupply your ammo, and you'll notice it will then resupply your gas mask as well. Now once you've defeated that red worm boss, open the reward rift, and that guarantees you one of 3 schematics. Finally, the VR11. Let's talk about this wonder weapon. It's the latest wonder weapon we've got, and it is a fairly simple one. You simply need to go into the second Elder Dark Ether. That's the one on top of the hill at the back of the tier 3 red zone. Of course, you'll need to unlock this Dark Ether first. We've already made a whole video on that though, so check out the eye icon to learn the steps on how you can unlock this Dark Ether. Once you've done that, you'll then need an Elder Sigil, which you can simply get from doing missions in the normal version of this Dark Ether, or even the other Dark Ether. The first one will still give you the same Elder Sigil that you need for this one. Once you're in the Elder Sigil, the second Dark Ether, complete all of the 3 contracts in there, and that will give you a chance to get the VR11 schematic. Unfortunately, in this Dark Ether, you're not guaranteed schematics, but there are 3 you can get. Those are the Blood Burner Key schematic, the Mags of Holding schematic, and then obviously the VR11 schematic. So if you keep grinding these in the Elder Sigil in this second Dark Ether, you'll ultimately end up with all of these schematics fairly easily. And that's it. Those are the ways you can get your hands on the current wonder weapons in Modern Warfare Zombies. Hopefully this helps you. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.